Hello and welcome to the Pleasure Academy. Today we're diving into a deeply important and often misunderstood topic. The girl's body is saying yes, but her mouth is saying no. So what should we do? Let's unpack this with care and clarity. Understanding consent, segment 1. Consent is not just a word, it's a clear, enthusiastic, and ongoing agreement between individuals. Just because someone's body reacts physically doesn't mean they are giving consent. Our bodies can respond involuntarily, even in uncomfortable or non-consensual situations. This can be confusing, especially in intimate moments. But it's vital to understand, true consent is verbal, enthusiastic, and mutual. When a girl says no, that is the only answer that matters, regardless of body language or physical cues. We must always prioritize clear communication, not assumptions. In this segment, we explore what real consent looks like, how to ask for it, and how to recognize it. Respect for others begins with listening and honoring their words, not guessing based on physical reactions. This is foundational to any respectful and safe relationship. Segment 2. The biology behind mixed signals. It might seem confusing when a person says no, but shows physiological signs of arousal. But it's important to understand how the human body works. Physical arousal is an automatic response that the body can have even when a person is uncomfortable or scared. These responses are driven by our nervous systems and are not indicators of desire or consent. They do not mean the person wants to continue. In fact, trauma survivors often report physical reactions during unwanted touch, which makes their experience even more complex. This disconnect highlights why verbal communication and emotional readiness are far more reliable indicators of willingness than bodily responses. When navigating intimate situations, it is essential to separate physical signs from true consent, which can only be given through clear, enthusiastic, verbal agreement. Segment 3. The impact of culture and media. Cultural norms and media often send mixed messages about consent. Movies, music, and even social media can portray persistence as romantic, or suggest that no means try harder. This messaging can be incredibly harmful and misleading. It conditions people to ignore verbal boundaries and pay more attention to body language, which can be misinterpreted. We must challenge these ideas and relearn what healthy communication looks like. Media should not define how we understand or approach consent. Real relationships are based on respect, not pursuit after rejection. By questioning these harmful portrayals and educating ourselves, we can begin to create a culture that respects boundaries and values clear communication. Let's choose to be part of the solution, not the problem. Segment 4. The power of no. No is a complete sentence. It doesn't require explanation, persuasion, or justification. Yet many people struggle to accept it, especially when they see or feel something they interpret as contradictory. Understanding the power of no means respecting it every time it's said, regardless of what our assumptions, emotions, or desires may be. If someone says no, the only appropriate response is to stop. It shows respect, maturity, and emotional intelligence. When we override or question someone's no, we create an unsafe and disrespectful environment. Practicing consent means not only listening for a yes, but stopping when you hear a no. Always take it at face value. It's not a game. It's not an invitation to push further. It is the boundary that must be honored. Segment 5. Enthusiastic consent explained. Enthusiastic consent goes beyond a simple yes. It means both people are excited, willing, and fully present in the experience. It looks like a smile, eye contact, verbal excitement, and ongoing agreement. Enthusiastic consent can be withdrawn at any time, and that's perfectly okay. If one person is unsure, silent, or hesitant, that is not enthusiastic consent. It's our responsibility to check in and never proceed unless we're absolutely sure the other person wants to. Consent should be seen as sexy and empowering, not as an obstacle. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual respect and shared joy. Enthusiastic consent ensures both people feel safe, valued, and connected, and that's what truly makes intimacy meaningful. Segment 6. When words and actions don't align. Sometimes people feel pressure to say yes or avoid saying no because they don't want to hurt someone's feelings, fear retaliation, or simply freeze in the moment. This creates a situation where someone might appear compliant but is actually uncomfortable. That's why paying attention to both verbal and nonverbal cues is important. But always default to the words being said. Someone says no, it overrides everything else. If you sense hesitation, confusion, or discomfort, pause and check in. Ask, are you okay? Do you want to continue? Being proactive and ensuring comfort and consent makes all the difference. When in doubt, stop and communicate. Clarity always trumps assumption. Segment 7. Emotional safety and trust. Emotional safety is just as important as physical safety. Trust is built when people feel respected, heard, and safe. In intimate moments, the absence of emotional security can lead to lasting trauma. That's why checking in, respecting boundaries, and accepting a no without question is vital. Emotional safety fosters connection and vulnerability. It creates space for open conversations and mutual understanding. When someone knows they can say no and still be cared for, trust grows. That's the foundation of healthy intimacy. Without emotional safety, no physical act can be truly consensual. Let's aim to build relationships where every person feels free to express themselves without fear. Segment 8. The freeze response. One often misunderstood reaction is the freeze response. This happens when someone feels threatened or overwhelmed, and their body shuts down or goes still. It's a survival mechanism just like fight or flight. In these moments, the person may not say no, but they also don't say yes. It is crucial to understand that silence, stillness, or lack of resistance is not consent. If someone is frozen or unresponsive, stop immediately and check in. Say, "I notice you're quiet. Are you okay? Do you want to stop?" Creating space for safety helps someone move out of freeze and feel more empowered. Respecting this response shows deep care and awareness. Segment 9. Building a culture of respect. To change the narrative around consent, we need to build a culture rooted in respect, not entitlement. This starts with honest conversations, active listening, and unlearning harmful beliefs. We must teach each other, especially the next generation, that consent is non-negotiable and should be celebrated, not avoided. Respecting someone's words, boundaries, and comfort is a reflection of our own integrity. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their body and their choices. By modeling respectful behavior, we encourage others to do the same. It's not just about avoiding harm, it's about creating relationships where all parties feel empowered, understood, and valued. That's the future we should all strive for. Segment 10. Understanding mixed signals. Sometimes a person's body language and verbal language may appear contradictory. But here's the key: verbal consent always overrides body language. If a woman says no with her mouth, that is the message we must honor, regardless of how her body responds. This doesn't mean she's lying or playing hard to get. It may reflect fear, nervousness, social pressure, or even a physiological response that has nothing to do with desire. The body can react in ways that don't match conscious intent. Education means learning to see these signals with empathy, not entitlement. If there's ever any doubt, stop and talk. The idea isn't to decode mixed signals like a puzzle. It's to build trust, communication, and comfort for both people. That's what creates genuine, mutual intimacy. Segment 11. The science of arousal versus consent. Here's a truth that's not often talked about. Arousal is not the same as consent. Physiological responses, like increased heart rate, lubrication, or even moaning, can happen without a person wanting the interaction. What? The body is wired to respond to stimulation even under stress. This is why it's crucial to separate how someone reacts physically from what they say and choose. Consent is a conscious, enthusiastic, and ongoing decision, not a bodily response. For example, someone being tickled might laugh, but that doesn't mean they want to keep being tickled. Same with intimacy. So when her body says yes but her words say no, always believe the no. Respecting verbal communication fosters trust and ensures that both people feel truly safe, respected, and cared for. Segment 12. The role of communication. Consent isn't just a yes or no, it's an ongoing conversation. And like any conversation, it thrives on clarity, patience, and listening. If a moment feels confusing, if body language is saying one thing but her voice says another, the best response isn't to guess. Is to ask. Ask her how she feels. Ask if she's comfortable. Ask if she wants to keep going. Communication doesn't kill the mood, it builds it. The most memorable, passionate, and intimate experiences happen when both people are freely and confidently saying yes in every way, verbally, emotionally, physically. When someone says no, that's your cue to pause and reset the moment together. That's not rejection, it's connection. So if you ever feel unsure, talk it out. Being emotionally present is what makes you a great partner, not just a skilled lover. Segment 13. Common misconceptions about saying no. Let's bust a damaging myth. No doesn't always mean try harder. Some people are taught to believe that when a woman says no, she might not actually mean it. This mindset is outdated and dangerous. In reality, no means no. It might be spoken softly, awkwardly, or nervously, but it still counts. Some women are afraid to say no clearly because they don't want to hurt feelings, be seen as rude, or cause conflict. So they rely on tone, body posture, or hesitations. This makes it our responsibility to listen and observe carefully. And if there's ever a contradiction between body language and verbal speech, we go with what is spoken. This isn't just respectful, it's responsible, emotionally intelligent, and essential in building trust in any relationship. Segment 14. Trauma and nervous system responses. When we talk about consent, we must understand the effects of past trauma. Some people who've experienced abuse, assault, or coercion might freeze instead of saying no. This is called the freeze response, and it's a biological survival mechanism. In those moments, a person might go still, quiet, or even appear calm. Their body might respond sexually, but they are not consenting. Understanding this is crucial. We can't interpret stillness or silence as a yes. Instead, we should always seek verbal, enthusiastic consent. Trauma-informed intimacy requires patience, kindness, and a willingness to slow down. If your partner ever seems distant, uncertain, or disconnected, stop and ask if they're okay. Let them know they're in control. Intimacy should be a space of healing, not harm, and you play a vital role in creating that safe space. Segment 15. Emotional safety first. A key principle of healthy sexuality is emotional safety. This means both people feel free to express themselves without fear, shame, or pressure. When someone says no, while their body appears aroused, that's a sign that emotional safety may be lacking, or that communication needs to deepen. The right move isn't to push past the discomfort. It's to pause, check in, and make space for emotions. Ask your partner how they're feeling. Be patient. A safe emotional environment builds trust, and trust leads to deeper pleasure. When people feel secure, their yes becomes more confident, more real, and more pleasurable. The goal of intimacy isn't just physical connection, it's emotional connection too. And that begins with respecting every word your partner says. Every no you respect brings you closer to a real, enthusiastic, and beautiful yes. Segment 16. Pleasure without pressure. Real pleasure can't be rushed or forced. It only grows in the absence of pressure. If her mouth says no, even if her body seems receptive, that's your moment to step back. What? Because when someone feels pressured, it can ruin the entire experience, not just for them but for both of you. Emotional coercion, manipulation, or ignoring boundaries can lead to guilt, trauma, and broken trust. But the good news is, when you honor boundaries, pleasure becomes more genuine, natural, and mutual. Saying, "It's totally okay, we can stop," can transform the moment from awkward to respectful, and often even bring partners closer. When your partner knows you respect them completely, that safety becomes the foundation for amazing connection. So aim for intimacy that's pressure-free. That's where real pleasure lives. Segment 17. What to do in the moment. So, what should you do in the moment when her body is responding but her words say no? Simple, listen to her words. Stop, step back, breathe. Say something like, "I hear you and I respect your no. We can slow down or stop, whatever you need." This kind of response shows maturity, self-control, and deep respect. It also helps your partner feel safe, which may open up more honest communication in the future. Don't make her feel guilty or confused for saying no. Affirm it. Show her that intimacy isn't just about touching. It's about caring, understanding, and being present. If she changes her mind later, great, but that decision must come from her without any pressure from you. Being respectful in that moment will always be the right choice. Segment 18. How this creates better relationships. Respecting verbal consent, even when it contradicts body language, builds stronger, healthier relationships. It shows your partner you value them as a person, not just as a body. It builds trust, deepens emotional connection, and increases the chances of truly mutual intimacy in the future. People remember how we make them feel, especially in vulnerable moments. When you choose to listen, to care, and to honor boundaries, you become a better partner, lover, and human being. This creates a space where both people feel empowered to express themselves fully. And in that space, pleasure isn't just physical. It's emotional, spiritual, and lasting. That's the kind of intimacy worth striving for. Conclusion. Let's bring it all together. When someone's body appears to say yes, but their voice says no, always trust their voice. Consent is not about reading physical signs or guessing intent. It's about clear, mutual, and enthusiastic agreement. Listening, communicating, and respecting boundaries builds intimacy rooted in trust and care. Whether you're in a relationship, dating, or exploring new connections, the principles of emotional safety, trauma awareness, and verbal clarity must lead the way. Real connection isn't just about desire, it's about respect. So honor every word, every no, every pause. That's not just ethical, it's truly pleasurable. Thanks for watching the Pleasure Academy. If this video helped you see consent in a new light, like and subscribe for more respectful, empowering content. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're here to grow together. Stay safe, stay conscious.